Hello, Namaskar. Welcome to my pod, the CAA Show. CAA, as all of you know, is Conversations and Analysis. My name is Juggi Bhasin. To become a subscriber of the show, all you have to do is to press the red button on your screen. Subscription is, of course, completely free. We would also really appreciate if you could like this video and share this video with your friends. All right, Operation Sindoor. Operation Sindoor, to my mind, is a seminal moment in India. It's an operation which at one level has achieved multiple objectives, and I'm going to talk of those objectives in this podcast. But beyond all that, it has achieved one, perhaps the greatest thing of all in a long, long time for India. It has unshackled India. It has unshackled India from the fetters that India had imposed on itself. And what are these fetters I'm talking about, or these chains which I'm talking about? This was a mind chain in our mind that, yes, we know that Pakistan is sponsoring terrorism in our country. We know what all Pakistan does, but we can't take on Pakistan because it is a nuclear country. Well, Operation Sindhu has finally unshackled those demons. It has got rid of those demons. We are now taking on Pakistan, and how? That is for the entire world to see. So it is a seminal moment. It is a very important moment in India. It marks the emergence of India as a very decisive country, a country today, at least today I can say, on par with a country like Israel in terms of decision making, in terms of decisiveness. This is the intent which India has shown in Operation Sindoor. Now, let me take you through some of the multiple objectives which Operation Sindoor has realized for us. It's not only a singular objective, that is of flattening out and killing these terrorists who have been sneaking across the border and carrying out these cowardly attacks on innocent civilians. It is much, much beyond that. That is only a singular one objective only. There are multiple objectives which have been achieved through Operation Sindoor. Let me start with the most obvious one. The first one is that it has now given us this absolute belief in ourselves that we are going to take military action as and when we see fit, when a certain incident crosses a certain threshold of our patience, of our calmness, of our resolve, then military action will be taken, and we will give it to the other side, not only in equal measure, but much, much more beyond that. And that is what this Operation Sindoor has achieved for us. And this, I think, is going to become the template now for the future, where, knowing Pakistan, terrorist incidents are not going to stop from Pakistan, whatever we might do. They will continue. But if they continue, then India has resolved now that it would initiate military action. I think that is what Operation Sindoor, by and large, is a single biggest objective which it has released. It also it shows intent of delivering punishment. And that's very, very important, that if you do a crime, there is this old novel by Dostoevsky, Crime and Punishment. And that is what is really happening in the real world in today. You commit a crime, Pakistan commits a crime, and then you will be punished for it. This is what India has resolved. So the intent of carrying out military action, the intent of punishing the enemy now is there for all to see. And it's a template now which will be enforced. In fact, right now, of course, there is all this big thing which is going on right now, and these things will settle down. But eventually what is going to happen is that will become commonplace, where India will, if they do something, then we will respond quickly, effectively, as we have done now, and decisively as we have done now. It's going to become a template for the future. The second thing, this operation, and please see it very, very carefully, it shows a brilliance in its execution in terms of the planning, in terms of the assembly, in terms of the coming together or the garnering of various resources, of lethal resources, and finally in the decisiveness and in the pinpointed targeting of enemy sites, enemy locations, enemy targets, enemy personnel. The Operation Sindoor is absolutely brilliant. And then, of course, the use of high tech weaponry, the use of cruise missiles like the Scalp missile, the use of missiles like the Hammer missile. These missiles, to use a phrase, have literally hammered, they have literally scalped the enemy. And then also, very, very important, the use of indigenous drones, which we have developed in Bangalore. They have also been used in Operation Sindhu. So a combination of lethal weaponry, which we have got from various sources, which we have developed on our own, all that extremely high tech, extremely sophisticated, but with the valor, backed by the valor, backed by the courage of our armed forces. And that delivery has been made. It has succeeded, and how, as the whole world can see. And then the grid of air defense systems, both on our sides, and the lack of air defense on the other side, that is on the Pakistani side. This is a fantastic objective which has been realized. Now imagine, and people have been talking about that we carried out this wonderful subterfuge. Absolutely, where we gave notice of a drill and air exercises, and it probably got the Pakistanis fooled. Yes, that's all true. But the fact of the matter is that Pakistan was in harness. They were ready. They were expecting an attack from us. They were in full preparation. And yet, despite all that, imagine the enormity of this exercise, the lethal efficiency of this exercise, that it went through, it pierced, it went right through across all these so-called defenses put up by Pakistan and hit enemy targets. In a state of when Pakistan was in full alert. Imagine if Pakistan was not on alert and we had carried out the attack, what would have happened then? But even then, all our targets were on point. We eliminated those targets. We vanquished the enemy despite Pakistan being in a state of high alert, which is, I think, a fantastic achievement. So what does it show? It shows the state of readiness of air defensive network in Pakistan. It's all there for everyone to see. That's the first point. And number two, it shows the complete competence, the domination, and it shows the grid which we have established in our own country, the confidence which our planners had that our air defensive grids are in place, and we can take on the Pakistanis if they respond. It shows both sides the lack of air defensive networks and the complete the air defensive networks on our side, which have been in harness, which are so effectively working even as I speak right now. So that's the other objective which has been realized. Then let's come to something very other significant which this strike has achieved. This strike has, as I said, this is the first part which I've covered the intent part of the government of India, that we are going to punish these perpetrators. We're going to punish Pakistan for its perfidy of carrying out the Pahalgam attack. That's the intent. But there's also an emotional message, a message of emotion which has been carried across by Operation Sindoor. The name itself, as now people are, as now sources are telling us, that the Prime Minister himself had thought of this name. And of course, Sindoor of a million is the mark of a woman, of a Hindu woman, for a husband. And the loss of that, and how the country has repaid that loss, how the country has bought the perpetrators of that outrage and has dealt severe punishment to them. The emotionalism of this, the optics of the entire thing. I can't recall, for instance, an attack like this or an operation like this. Most of these attacks or operations are, given these very male, machoistic names like Operation Thunderbolt, Operation Lightning, and so on and so forth. I think this is the first time when a feminine name, when an empowering feminine name, a Durga-like empowering feminine name like Operation Sindoor has been given, and how it has succeeded, and the message it sends of the empowerment of women in India as compared to, let's say, what's happening in Pakistan. What a message that has gone across to the whole world. That's the first part of it. And then the second part of it, the coming of the two lady armed forces officers, that is Officer Sophia Qureshi, Colonel Sophia Qureshi, and Wing Commander Vyomika Singh, and the way they gave the presentation. I mean, it won so many millions of hearts in the country. The sight of Colonel Sophia Qureshi with her, with a service cap a little tilted and speaking and looking straight in the camera and with pinpoint precision giving the details of the operation. And then Wing Commander Valmika Singh, looking straight ahead and giving those details. What a sight. I mean, it was so emotional. And look at the empowering message that that visual has said, not only to women in the country, but to practically everyone, and the message of Hindu-Muslim unity, which Pakistan has been so desperately trying to break, which the internal enemies of India have been trying to foment for such a long time. And literally, these two women, single-handedly, I would say, in that short 10 to 15-minute presentation, they literally blew the enemy out of the water. They gave a message to the internal enemies in the country that no messing around with our credentials of community harmony. I'm certainly not using words like secularism and all that because these are tired and these are words which have no meaning at all. But practical, real life things that yes, Hindus and Muslims, they live and they have to live in peace together, and they will live in peace together. That's the message. And that is why you find that even the hardened liberals in our country, even the so-called skeptics of the present government, everybody was forced to acknowledge. And I believe there are so many of these tweets, so many of these posts coming out that said, yeah, what a great thing that the government has done by putting these two lady officers on the podium and giving that presentation. So full marks to the government for this absolutely brilliant stratagem. And of course, the name Operation Sindhu. Now, it also, in a larger sense, I think the entire operation shows the arrival of, and this is an interesting thing which I like to tell you is when this is so many years back when we used to watch videos on CNN, channels like CNN, and how the Americans were taking on in Iraq and what was going on in all these wars. And then you used to look up at those visuals and say, oh my God, how do they do this? How do they carry out these visuals, high tech, with those, with those squares and the bombs going, and you could see the bombs flattening out. And then will India ever be like this? When will we have these kind of high tech weapons? Well, ladies and gentlemen, all that was on display in Operation Sindhu. They not only bombed, they not only flattened out these terrorist nests, but they took photographic evidence. All that was there, these high-tech weapons with sensors, cameras attached to them, relaying feed back, probably in Delhi, I don't know where all, from where the operation was carried out. Those are details, secretive details, known only to the government. But what a wonderful sight. And it shows that now India is there in the big league. We are in that league of nations now with these kind of weapons, with these kind of attacks. The sight of the BrahMos, not that the BrahMos was used in this attack, but I'm just saying the sight of the BrahMos, lifting off from our frigates and our destroyers and going up and then heading towards enemy targets. Arrival of India, the arrival of our country as a country of note, of a country which is taken very, very seriously. The whole world is now keyed into looking at what India is going to do next as a major power, actually, I would say. So it's the optics, it's the intent, it is the demonstration. All these things have been combined together in what really happened in Operation Sindhu. And then, of course, the fallout objectives, which have also been realized in the process. Well, I would say a recalcitrant opposition has now fallen in line. They have no choice. I mean, the proof is out there for everyone to see. Earlier, during Balakot, they were all going around, where is the proof? Where is the proof? And maybe in Balakot, that the only thing which probably the government didn't think of at that time was to probably attach these sensors and cameras to the bombs which went in and flattened out terrorist infrastructure and killed so many of the terrorists. But this time that has been done. So nobody can now say that where is the proof? The proof is there for all to see. Even Pakistan acknowledges that videos after videos are flooding the net about these bombing attacks. So the opposition has no choice now but to support the government. They have fallen in line. It's very, very clear, at least for the timing. Of course, the first opportunity they will get, they will of course going to turn against the government. So that's a good objective which has been realized. Then something very interesting, a couple of things have also happened. See, around the time this attack was carried out, around Operation Sindoor was in full swing. Two developments. We signed this FTA with the United Kingdom. And also today we get the news that now Elon Musk, Starlink, I think that's Starlink it's called, that the service now has been given the go-ahead that you can come into India. Now, why has this been done? Very interesting. It's simply been done because we are realizing so many objectives, because UK, all said and done, more than any other country in Europe, is a home to a lot of Pakistanis. And the UK government, well, it has a certain policy of dealing both with India and Pakistan. And this is our way of telling UK guys, now we have an FTA, we are saying nice things with each other. So yeah, we need your support now. We need your to look at all these developments now in a light favorable towards India. So that's the first move. And then Elon Musk. Elon Musk, of course, all said and done, is an important person in the present dispensation in the United States. And therefore, the linkages have been given. So in that sense, it's a larger message that we want UK, we want the United States on our side in this developing situation. And I use the word developing situation because it is a developing situation, because there's now news coming in that there are these explosions which have been heard in Karachi, in Lahore, and other cities in Pakistan. And obviously, it's very clear to us that the game of the Pakistani would be that, oh, India is carrying out these kind of things, which is it's known as a false flag operation, to get an excuse, or rather to play victim in front of the whole world, or maybe even sinister, to get an excuse to try and do something stupid against India. So we'll see. It's an ongoing situation. We will see. So Operation Sindoor is actually still going on in that sense. It's work in progress. But as I said, initially some of the objectives have been brilliantly met. We will see how it goes. The unexpected can also be around the corner. We never know, because as I said, it's an evolving situation. Let's see how it pans out. Now, as we have talked about the situation, the objective which have been realized, and what can happen, and probably more things will happen, of course, in the coming days. But there are certain things we need to keep in mind. When there are certain other parameters we have to be careful about. The first one is this. Pakistan is definitely in a desperate state. There is no question about it. I mean, I was looking at the address by the Prime Minister, Shehbaz Sharif, today. And I don't know who had advised him. He gave his address to the nation, and he was in some kind of high collar with tie and everything and coat, and he was looking stiff, and he didn't know where to look. He was looking, it was so odd. And then we will get back in India and that kind of a thing and all that. Look, here's the thing. So India has given notice that, guys, you did this, we have done this. Now, if anything happens after this, you attack civilian, you attack a military infrastructure, then we are going to respond with a heavy, heavy hand. So I'm saying this is work in progress. Let's see how this pans out. But what really happened in the process is that Pakistan, in these initial strike, has lost its bravado, its machismo. See, you have to understand Pakistan, especially the Pakistani military. They have lost not practically, but they have lost all the encounters, all the wars, all the battles with India. And even then, they strut around with this machismo that, we are the ultimate, and it's that what I call the false Punjabi bluster which they are filled with. But now that much more has been dented, it has been dented very badly. And I'm using this phrase from a very earlier phrase which one politician had long ago used the word painted and dented. So they have been painted in a corner and they have been dented very badly by the strikes carried on by India. This machismo has been deflated, as it were. And therefore, it's a dangerous Pakistan. And that's a serious point. So we need to be careful. We need to be in the watch. We cannot let our defenses, we cannot sit on our oars, as it is called. We have to be on constant alert. And it's not only for the next 1, 2, 3, or 5 nights or whatever, where Pakistan might carry out a surprise attack. It has to be now constant. It's a constant state of affairs because we cannot trust this country at all, which means that, and I'm sure the government has already put up systems which are like 24 into 7, which are constantly our defenses have to be up, monitoring, eyes in the sky at what these fellows are doing. So that's the first point. Then the second thing is, I think the government, if it is already started, but I think it should continue more and more, this crackdown on the fifth columnists in this country. There are people, even today, you can see some of the tweets, not too many of them, but there are some tweets, there are certain posts which have come, which are not very complimentary about the work of our armed forces. These people need to be taken to task, no question about it. Now it's not a question of freedom of the press or freedom or whatever. Anybody who is anti-national in any way just literally has to be, dealt with severely. I'm all for that right now. And then third point, please remember the opposition right now is, of course, they have congratulated the armed forces, to be honest. All of them have done it. But with the opposition, they can turn on the government any day, any small miscalculation or whatever, and the opposition. So the government has to be mindful of that. Now, hopefully the crisis will be over. We will come out, all this will come to, all this will settle down over a period of time. But what really also I think is a need is that we have to put in more and more money in our defensive networks. We have to, I think, raise the budget of the defense armed forces. We definitely have to do that. And now the way is clear for us. More and more high technology, more and more quasi funding, more and more partnership funding of the government with defense startups in the country. So many young people with bright ideas, with so much of verve and zest and ambition. They are coming up with these defense products all the time, drone technologies. The government has to pump more and more money into all these endeavors. See, you emerge more and more as a defense superpower. You become self-sufficient in defense. This is a great thing which is going on, but the foot has to be in the accelerator all the time. So that's the other thing we need to be mindful of. And then the big thing is that hold on to the Indus Water Treaty abeyance which you have done. It's like it has to be a permanent state of affairs. As I said, these things will settle down over a period of time. And then the big problem which India has always had over the years is that in our moment of victory, we just give away all the spoils of war to the enemy. We become, जिसे कहते हैं हिंदी में कहते हैं कि हमारे अंदर इतनी दया आ जाती है कि हम कहते हैं कोई बात नहीं, जाने दो, सीख जाएंगे, इनको वापस दे दो. Which means that we take our foot off the pedal. We don't apply the pressure. In fact, we even accommodate and say, it's okay, let's give them back whatever they want and all that. And maybe they will, of course, come to their senses. That should not be done. The pressure now has to be continuous. You cannot give back the controls of the Indus Water Treaty, which means that you control the water flow. India has to control the water flow. The extent of the water you will release or the water you will hold, the dams you will build, the heights of the dams you will raise, all that now must be rests with India because these are our rivers. These are rivers flowing from our land. It's as simple as that. Let Pakistan cry blue in the face that to contrary whatever they want to say, it doesn't make a difference. Let them go to the World Bank or to any other international body, doesn't make a difference. This is the ultimate weapon, which even it's, I would say, it's even a more powerful weapon than the scalps and the hammers which we have used against Pakistan. Hold on to this weapon. This cannot be given away. And use the weapon, as I keep saying in my podcast, like a tap, on and off, on and off. It's on. You can give some water when you think Pakistan is behaving itself. When no terrorists are being sent across, they are in line. But if the moment they behave badly, the moment they indulge in these things, then turn off the water supply. I mean, it's as simple as this. That's what we really have to do. And ultimately, I will leave you with this final thought that today we have carried out Operation Sindhu. We are doing something which is so different, which is so brilliant in a certain sense. And partly also the reason for that is that today the world is a different place. It's suddenly the world in the last few months has changed like anything. It has changed completely, actually, in a sense. And therefore, today, India has got itself the space, it has got itself the depth to act in its own interests, to take the decisions it always wanted to take. Because previously, maybe there were so many other factors, there were so many other powers who are working against the interests of India. A lot of that has been cleared up. A lot of that stuff has gone away. India is the world today is because the world is preoccupied with itself. There are all kinds of economic interests. There are all kinds of wars. There are all kinds of conflicts. So much is going on in the world. Nobody has time really in that sense. Of course, the world is focused on what India and Pakistan are doing, but nobody really is there in the mood to challenge you at the moment, and which is a great thing. This is the perfect opportunity, the perfect time for India to make its mark in the world. And Operation Sindoor, therefore, is emotive, it is skillful, it is brilliant, but it is just the first step. And these are the steps we need to keep continuing on and on to make a mark in the world. And so, on this note, I come to the end of this particular podcast. Hope you really enjoyed it. There's a phone call which is coming. We have to take that phone call. And so, till next time, it's goodbye and cheers from my end.